Now, from the makers of cold water Omo...
Take these handcuffs, Mr. Steed. They're supposed to be escape-proof. Sent over here for testing, like the rest of this stuff. Care to try them on? Now, what's your problem? Apart from getting out of the handcuffs?
It's about the Old Hill Monastery.
A delightful place. I spent a whole month there whilst vetting it. Ideal for our purposes. No one could escape from there.
Rostov and Lubin managed it.
What? A getaway?
A got-away. That's why I'm here.
Impossible. It's escape-proof.
Escape-proof? Like these handcuffs?
John Steed looked keenly at Professor Dodge as he slipped out of the handcuffs and threw them on the desk.
Oh, this is dreadful. My reputation is at stake. I shall inspect the whole of Old Hill Monastery from top to bottom, right now.
Once an Omo user, always an Omo user. Because there's just no dirt that can stand up to the cleaning power of cold water Omo. It solves Mrs. Sutherland's washing problems for her.
Very dirty oil or grease marks. If you use cold water Omo, there's no trouble at all. It comes out very, very easily indeed.
There's no washing problem too difficult for cold water Omo. Over 1 million South African housewives have proved it.
Day in, night out, been only a woman, perfectly groomed, sweetly perfumed.
Now you can choose from Vinolia's 5 new classic fragrances.
Episode 4 of this story, in which John Steed and Emma Peel make some headway, but still can't explain how 2 top enemy agents made a getaway. Two of John Steed's best friends, both top British Secret Service agents, had been killed. They had met their deaths shortly after the escape of 2 foreign spies from the prison known as Old Hill Monastery. The escapes had been planned at different times, but were both carried out in a most mysterious manner. The prisoners, pursued and hemmed in by guards, had simply disappeared. Steed had consulted Professor Dodge, who had designed the monastery's security system, and sent Mrs. Peel to the ministry to check up on the personal habits of the 3 spies, Rostov and Lubin, who had made the escape, and Esdorf, the remaining and most dangerous agent, who swore he would also escape, and once free, would kill John Steed. Mrs. Peel asked for files on the 3 enemy agents.
Here you are, Mrs. Peel. The files on Rostov, Lubin, and Esdorf.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Peters.
Now, will you excuse me? It's feeding time.
Lunch already? Early, isn't it?
I believe in feeding at short intervals, every 25 minutes.
Pardon?
Delicious little ant eggs.
And eggs?
Oh, I often throw in a beetle or 2, for hors d'oeuvres, so to speak. Oh, it's not for me, silly, it's for them.
Peters, with a nonchalant wave of the hand, indicated a glass tank.
Look at them, the little dears. Here, come and have some ant eggs.
Mrs. Peel stared, somewhat mystified, at the glass tank. It seemed to contain only rocks and plants.
Shouldn't they have some water in there?
They hardly ever drink.
I meant to swim in.
Lizards hardly swim. Mrs. Peel, they bask. That's the word, bask.
Oh, I see. Well, I don't see. I don't see any of them.
Oh, they're somewhere. They will hide away, but they are in there somewhere.
Are you sure?
Oh, well, of course I'm sure. That is, of course. Popsy, Alfred, Sidney, show yourselves, you naughty creatures. Popsy, come and have an ant egg.
Mrs. Peel turned away with an amused smile and picked up the files. She opened them, selected several papers and photographs. Clipped to one of the photographs was a piece of paper.
What's this, Mr. Peters?
Alfred, where are you? What's that? Oh, you may well ask.
Peters looked at the piece of paper, which had written upon it, CX, VIII, VI, XXV.
I am asking.
Roman numerals.
Well, yes, that had occurred to me. But why with the files?
We found a copy of that number in the sole of each man's shoe.
Rostov, Lubin, and Esdorf all carried this number?
Yes. It's obviously a code, but we've never been able to break it.
Julius Caesar's birthday.
What? Are you sure?
A joke, Mr. Peters.
Oh, a joke.
A joke. May I keep this for a while?
Certainly. And if you decipher it, you will let us know, won't you?
Oh, I shall, never fear. Bye, Mr. Peters.
Goodbye, Mrs. Peel. Now, where are you, my little pet? Alfred? Popsy?
Back in Steed's apartment, Mrs. Peel spent some time on the files and then turned her attention to the Roman numerals. She picked up one of Steed's books, Advanced Code Breaking. Couldn't even understand the first sentence and threw the book down. On the table were the personal possessions taken from Lubin's cell after he'd escaped. The copy of Bryant's Natural History magazine had an issue number printed under the title. It read,
Number of issue, CXV, III, VI. The coded number is CXV, III, VI, XXV. All that's lacking between the issue number of this magazine found in Lubin's cell and the code number they all carried is XXV. XXV is 25. Page 25. Oh, page 25 is missing. Torn out.
It didn't take Mrs. Peel long to find out the telephone number of Bryant's Natural History magazine. She got through at once and demanded to speak to the editor.
Bryant's Natural History magazine, Cedric Bryant speaking.
Mrs. Emma Peel speaking from MI5. Important. We want to get hold of a back copy of your magazine.
Which issue do you want?
Well, I'm not attempting the translation. Issue CXV, III, VI. The special reptile issue.
Oh, yes. Well, there's no problem there. I remember it well. We have several copies left. I'm sure I can find you one. Just hold on a moment. You're on my desk. I think I have... No.
Mr. Bryant? Mr. Bryant, have you...
Mrs. Peel heard the click of the receiver being replaced at the other end. She slammed down the receiver into its cradle and ran out of Steed's apartment, heading for her car. In the cell inhabited by Rostov before his escape, Professor Dodge was testing the walls, each stone in turn.
Professor?
Oh, Steed, I do wish you wouldn't do that. You startled me.
I'm sorry. How are you getting on?
I've covered the east wing and Lubin's cell with a fine hammer. Solid. Granite, 2 feet thick. It'd take a lifetime to chisel through.
No chance of a secret panel, trapdoor?
No. Quite out of the question. I went over the place with a microscope. How anyone could escape from here bewilders me. Given time, I pride myself that there isn't a lock I couldn't pick or a safe I couldn't crack.
Yes.
Steed strolled over to Rostov's table. A few things were still lying on it. Steed picked up Bryant's Natural History magazine and thumbed through it.
What's this? Page missing. Page 25, huh?
Mrs. Peel had found the offices of Bryant's Natural History magazine and was mounting the stairs, while inside the office, Lubin was making sure of a few things.
This should stop any further investigation. Nothing important is left. All the papers burned in the metal waste paper basket.
Lubin stopped as Mrs. Peel's footsteps came along the corridor. She tried the door. It was locked. Lubin faded back into the shadows. Mrs. Peel had never let a locked door stop her in her life. Lubin, in the shadows, pulled up the hood of his duffel coat and remained in hiding. Mrs. Peel, smelling the burning papers, advanced cautiously to the wastepaper basket. It was then that she saw Cedric Bryant's body lying by the desk. She moved over, knelt beside him, and turned him over.
Let's see. Dead, all right. What's this?
Beneath the dead man was a copy of a magazine.
The special reptile issue.
She picked it up, but a voice behind her said,
I'll take that.
Certainly.
Mrs. Peel chopped the gun from Lubin's fist. He threw her across the room. Mrs. Peel fell heavily. Lubin plunged forward. Mrs. Peel scrambled to her feet and sidestepped. Lubin, unable to stop, tore forward and crashed through the plate glass window. Mrs. Peel hurried to the window and looked down. There was no one there. A few minutes later, she noticed a small van drive away. The van carried a name, Magnus Importing Co. Otherwise, the street was deserted, and the pavement empty.
Let's see. Dead, all right. What's this?
Beneath the dead man was a copy of a magazine. The special reptile issue. She picked it up, but a voice behind her said, I'll take that. Mrs. Peel fell heavily. Lubin, unable to stop, tore forward. Mrs. Peel scrambled to her feet and sidestepped. Lubin, unable to stop, tore forward and crashed through the plate glass window.
Mrs. Peel hurried to the window and looked down. There was no one there. A few minutes later, she noticed a small van drive away. The van carried a name, Magnus Importing Co. Otherwise, the street was deserted, and the pavement empty.
Natural History magazine, special reptile issue. It came from Rostov's cell.
Oh, don't tell me, Steed. I know. Page 25 is missing.
How do you know?
It's really very simple.
In Steed's apartment, Mrs. Peel paused from sipping a cup of tea and traced the Roman numeral code number on top of the magazine, pointing out matching figures with a delicately polished fingernail.
Mrs. Peel, do you realize that this stumped our greatest cipher experts?
Oh, it's just one of those lucky breaks. Happens.
They'll probably give you a medal. They might even make you a dame.
Wouldn't it sound rather vulgar? Dame Mrs. Emma Peel?
Oh, Mrs. Peel, nothing you wear, not even a name, could be vulgar. So you went to Brian's place and found him dead?
And Lubin went straight through the window and disappeared.
With the last remaining complete copy of the magazine?
Oh, no. Lubin went, but the magazine remained. Here, turn to page 25.
Ah, here we are. Lizards and their habits.
I've read it. It's, rather intimate.
Oh, disgusting habits, in fact.
Awful. And terribly crafty. They hide from their enemies by merging with the background.
Lizards. How do lizards fit in with all this? Where's the link between lizards and...
Lizards.
Lizards. Wait a minute. Where's that empty vodka bottle that came from Lubin's cell? Ah, here we are. Just look at that label.
Lizard vodka. Full strength.
Take the protection of famous Shield deodorant.
Squeeze it inside a sensational soap, and you've got...
the soap deodorant.
Here's a deodorant you simply wash on. Shield soap deodorant. A soap that cleans all over with a rich, luxurious lather. A soap that protects all over with the certainty of Shield.
Complete protection can't start till you're clean all over. That's why Shield have invented the soap deodorant. New Shield soap deodorant.
Once an Omo user, always an Omo user. So many housewives like Mrs. Adenall say.
I wash every single thing in cold water, Emma. Anything that's washable come out spotlessly clean.
Yes, Omo cleans best.
The Avengers.
Listen every evening, Monday to Friday, to John Steed and Emma Peel, The Avengers, brought to you by the makers of Cold Water Omo. The Avengers. Donald Monat as John Steed and Diane Appleby as Emma Peel is adapted and directed by Dennis Falbig and produced by David Gooden. Now, from the makers of Cold Water Omo.
So you went to Brian's office and found him dead, Mrs. Peel?
That's right. I had a little argument with Lubin. He went straight through the window and disappeared.
With the last remaining complete copy of the special reptile issue of the Natural History magazine.
Oh, no. Lubin went, but the magazine remained. Here, turn to page 25, please.
Here we are. Lizards and their habits.
I've read it. It's rather intimate.
Disgusting habits, in fact.
Awful. Terribly crafty. They hide from their enemies by merging with the background.
Lizards. Now, what have lizards got to do with the escape of 3 agents from an inescapable fortress? Wait. Where's that empty vodka bottle that came from Lubin's cell? Here we are. Well, just look at that label.
Lizard vodka, full strength.
The Avengers.
John Steed and Emma Peel, The Avengers.
Over 1 million South African housewives are delighted with the sparkling clean wash they get from Cold Water Omo. Like Mrs. Connie Goldie of the Innocent.
Well, I found myself without any hot water one Monday morning.
Yes.
So I dashed out and I bought a packet of cold water Omo. And I've never been without cold water Omo since.
Yes, once an Omo user, always an Omo user. Omo cleans best. Over 1 million South African housewives have proved it.
Don't just admire your little girl's complexion. Share it. Knight's Castile is doubly enriched with lanolin to keep your skin soft and young. Pure, mild Knight's Castile for a complexion that never grows up.
Episode 5 of this story, in which John Steed accepts a challenge and Emma Peel begins to realize how their enemies have managed to make their getaway. Rostov and Lubin, two dangerous secret agents, had escaped from the prison of Old Hill Monastery. Rostov had killed George Neville and disappeared. Assignment accomplished. Lubin had killed twice, Paul Ryder and Cedric Bryant, before crashing through a window and disappearing. Mrs. Peel couldn't believe that he could have survived the fall from the 5th floor, but the street had been deserted and the pavement empty. Back in Steed's apartment, over a welcome cup of tea, they studied a few other clues, including page 25 of a special issue of Bryant's Natural History magazine.
There's got to be a connection. Page 25 is all about lizards and their habits. The name on the vodka bottle is Lizard.
Coincidence or proof? What proof?
Well, it says full strength here. I'm sorry. The Magnus Importing Company.
What was that? Hey, let me see that bottle. Oh, dear.
Yes? Well, what is it, Mrs. Peel?
Well, after Lubin fell out of the window, I naturally went to look. There was a van in the street, the only vehicle about. Painted on the side was the name...
Magnus Importing Company.
That's right.
Right. Now I'll pay them a visit. Now you get back to Peter's and take back the files. Study those lizards and their disgusting habits. Get Peters onto that page. The article might be in code. Well, come on, Mrs. Peel. At least we're getting somewhere, even if we're moving at the rate of snails and not lizards. Let's go.
Steed found that the Magnus Importing Company had their offices in front of a warehouse near the river. Unable to make himself known at the front, Steed went round to the warehouse entrance and prodded open the back door with his umbrella. Steed walked between lines of crates towards a pool of light at the far end of the darkened room. A man stepped out suddenly.
Yeah?
Ah, right at last. I'm looking for Mr. Magnus.
You found him.
The man stooped suddenly and hid a bottle away under a crate.
Ah, vodka.
Vodka?
Or to be precise, lizard vodka. I'm told it's excellent. I thought I'd order a crate or two.
Impossible.
Possible?
We don't stock that line anymore.
Oh, dear. But, surely you've got just one bottle somewhere?
Not even one bottle.
Oh. Oh, I see. If you do happen to get another consignment,
We won't. We've finished with lizard vodka. For good.
Oh. Well, sorry to have bothered you then. Bye.
Steed moved off slowly, aware that Magnus stooped to retrieve the bottle on the floor. He picked it up. It was a bottle of lizard vodka. Very carefully, he attached a label to the neck. It read, Express Delivery, Martin Esdorf. In his cell at Old Hill Monastery, Martin Esdorf paced up and down. His mood had changed. He was an impatient man. He swung round as the cell door clattered open and then slammed to. John Steed entered with a parcel.
Beware of Steed bearing gifts.
Oh, it's not a gift exactly, Esdorf. You ordered it. You did order this, didn't you? Lizard vodka?
Yeah, that's right, I did.
It's a brand I don't know.
Does that mean that you would like to try it? His pleasure. Allow me.
As Esdorf poured the vodka, Steed wandered around the cell. He stopped at the table and flipped a couple of pages over in Bryant's Natural History magazine. Esdorf watched him.
Steed? Your vodka.
Oh, sorry. You know, the secret could be in here.
Steed tapped the magazine. Esdorf's eyes flickered.
The secret to your character. Well, that's the saying, isn't it? Judge a man by the books he reads. Smooth.
Smooth. But I would think that Colonel James would consider it a trifle on the dry side.
Yes, perhaps. But I expected books on mechanics, history, even geography. I must say this one surprises me. Natural history.
When a man has nothing else to do...
But toads and lizards. I wouldn't have thought lizards were in your line, Ethel.
You're getting closer, Steve. Very close. But you will never be close enough. Perhaps the answer isn't here, in this magazine. Here, take it. Study it. Go and quote it. You will find never the answer, if there is an answer to be found. But I admire you, Steve. I really do. You're incisive, thorough, relentless, a worthy adversary. We are equally matched. We are very alike, you and I. Identical, in fact.
No.
There's a difference. We are both dedicated to our country, both prepared to die for it. You have killed, I have killed.
There is a difference. I only kill when I have to. You, because you like it.
We are merely debating with Grace on the real issue. How, Steve? How? How will I escape from here? You can't stop me, Steve. You won't be able to. And then, when I'm free, we will face each other, you and I. There will be you, there will be me. And snuggled in my hand will be a sleek, well-oiled, shiny compressor.
I prefer a Brown and Thiessen Magnum, myself.
I remember that. Oh, yes. I remember that. You have chosen the weapons, Steed.
Now you're going to turn all English and say, let the best man win.
Oh, I shall, Steed. I shall.
Mrs. Peel headed back to Peter's office at the ministry and turned in the 3 files.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Peel.
Oh, you better have this. A slip of paper with the Roman numerals on it. I shan't need that anymore. I know what it means.
You do? You mean you cracked the code?
Oh, quite simple, really. Nothing you need worry your head about. But you might like this.
A copy of the Natural History magazine. An article on lizards. Oh, how very kind and thoughtful of you, Mrs. Peel. My hobby.
Yes. Other people's as well, it seems. Now, why should Rostov and Lubin be interested in lizards?
I can't think. Except, of course, that they make such delightful pets. Now take this one. Here, from the aquarium. This is Alfred. Isn't he a dear? Charming little thing. And one never tires of them because they're forever changing color.
Yes. Yes, of course they are.
Yes, you see, Alfred is a true chameleon. All chameleons change color, of course. It's something to do with the chromophores in the skin. They merge with the background. Let me show you.
Peters took the chameleon from the brown earth, where it had been standing almost undetected, and placed it on the green blotter of his desk. The chameleon began to change color.
Nature's camouflage. Astonishing, isn't it? You would never know he was there, would you? He's practically disappearing before our eyes.
Yes. Yes, of course. Of course, that's it.
From the bars of his cell, Martin Esdorf was able to see John Steed leave the monastery grounds. It was then, with a thin-lipped smile of triumph, that he carried the vodka bottle into the bathroom of his cell. He opened the bottle and poured the contents down the sink. Then he twisted the neck of the bottle in the other direction. This opened the lower half of the bottle. It was filled with a colorless liquid. Esdorf moved to a cupboard, selected a warm tracksuit, and he poured the liquid from the bottle into the bath and pressed the back of the tracksuit down into it. From the cell door, Baxter looked in.
Check in, Baxter? That's right. This one isn't going to get away, I can tell you.
What's he doing?
Taking a bath. He always does about this time of the day. We'll give him a check on the scanner.
That's funny. I could have sworn it. He was in the bathroom a minute ago. I could see the shape of him through the frosted glass. Here, let me take a look. Baxter. It looks as though the cell's completely empty. Call the colonel.
Right. Colonel James. Baxter here, reporting from the cells.
What is it, Baxter? What's wrong?
It's Esdorf, sir. I can't see him anywhere. Price and I have been watching on the scanner. Should I take a look inside?
No, hold it. No, I'm coming down.
In a matter of minutes, Colonel James was with the 2 men in the corridor. Seconds later, he had agreed with them.
Give me the walkie-talkie. Hello there, Edwards. Open up Esdorf's cell.
Password, sir.
Damson.
It's after 5, sir.
Oh, for heaven's sake, man. Raspberry, then.
Yes, sir.
Careful, men. Guns at the ready. Follow me.
The three men stepped into the cell. There was no one there.
No one here. No one at all. I could have sworn...
An arm seemed to come from nowhere and hand-chopped Baxter at the back of the neck. Seconds later...
Baxter, what is it? What did you...
Price staggered and fell over Baxter's body. Colonel James wheeled round, coming back into the main part of the cell from the bathroom.
What the devil? Baxter? Price? What happened?
Even the colonel didn't know what hit him. Seconds later, the cell door slammed. Esdorf was free.
Out of the blue comes a new way to fight tooth decay for keeps. New fluoride for keeps toothpaste. It's the clear blue way to fight tooth decay, and it's the best anti-decay toothpaste around. New great tasting for keeps toothpaste.
The clear blue way to fight tooth decay for keeps. Great teeth are forever, great teeth are for keeps.
New family fluoride for keeps toothpaste.
No dirt can stand up to the cleaning power of cold water Omo. Mrs. Whelan had to wash greasy overalls.
And I thought, oh, well, I won't worry. I'll stick it into cold water Omo. And sure enough, every bit of grease is out.
Once an Omo user, always an Omo user.
The Avengers.
Listen every evening, Monday to Friday, to John Steed and Emma Peel, The Avengers, brought to you by the makers of Cold Water Omo. Now, from the makers of Cold Water Omo...
Careful now, men. Guns at the ready. Follow me. There's no one here. No one at all. I could have sworn that Esdorf was having a bath. I saw him through the frosted glass, then on the scanner, he seemed to disappear. I could have sworn that...
An arm seemed to come out of nowhere and hand-chopped Baxter at the back of his neck. Seconds later...
Baxter, what is it? What is it?
Price staggered and fell over Baxter's body. Colonel James, who'd been inspecting the bathroom, wheeled round and came back into the main cell.
What the devil? Baxter! Price, what happened? Are you...
Seconds later, there was a slam of the cell door. Martin Esdorf was free.
The Avengers.
John Steed and Emma Peel, The Avengers.
So many housewives have discovered that the cleaning power of cold water Omo gives them sparkling clean results. Mrs. Joyce Whelan of East London has this to say.
I tried it, and it works beautifully. I tried it on my children's clothes, on a general wash, and I noticed straight away that things were cleaner. Since then, I've used nothing else but cold water Omo.
Once an Omo user, always an Omo user. Omo cleans best.
There's too much chocolate, double chocolate ice. There's cool chocolate inside, milk chocolate outside, double chocolate, chocolate ice. Double choc, another great taste from Walls.
Episode 6, the final episode of this story, in which John Steed and Emma Peel realize how they have been tricked, but manage to survive to achieve the final. Getaway. John Steed knew his bitterest and deadliest enemy was Martin Esdorf, who had sworn to complete the task for which he had been sent to England. That assignment had as its target John Steed. Esdorf had sworn to Steed's face that he would kill him, and had even boasted that he would use Steed's favorite weapon, a Brown & Thiessen Magnum, to do the crime. John Steed had left Esdorf in the now doubtful security of the Old Hill Monastery and returned to his apartment to think things out. Mrs. Peel had been investigating the habits of lizards, in particular chameleons, and thought she'd stumbled over the truth, but for the life of her she couldn't see how it was done. Meanwhile, Martin Esdorf had got away and made the cover of the warehouse of the Magnus Importing Company.
That is the trouble with our people. They will underestimate the opposition. We laugh at Steed with his bowl and umbrella, but he can be more deadly than any other I have ever met on either side.
You think he knows?
He may suspect something. He can't know. How can he know? I don't actually know how it works myself. Well, I understand the main principle.
The same principle as the chameleon.
A humble little creature. Strange makeup. The need to hide.
Well, we've taken things a little further, that's all. A pigmented plastoid, more concentrated and spontaneous than that remarkable little lizard. One takes this concentrate, pours it on the correct material.
And it will assume the color and texture of the background against which it is placed. So perfect camouflage. And it works.
Now you're free. You have everything you need. Passport, clothes. Particularly that tracksuit treated with the camouflage solution.
I need a gun.
Oh, here's your gun. Your own Cambretta.
Ah, yeah. My old friend. Oh, but no. No. I would like a Brown & Thiessen Magnum.
Eh? But you always prefer...
I would prefer on this occasion a Brown & Thiessen. Get it for me, and no arguments. You see, it's a joke. Yeah, it's a private joke between me and John Steed.
In his apartment, John Steed poured himself a large drink.
This case is going to put me right off vodka for good.
Steed sipped a scotch and stared down at the magazine in front of him. Opposite the page which contained the article on lizards was a large, full-color reproduction showing a very attractive girl in a bikini emptying the contents of a bottle of vodka onto a man in a suit who was lying on the floor. The caption read, "Runaway people escape their problems with lizard vodka."
Runaway people escape. And at the bottom of the advertisement, the name and address of Magnus Importing Company. Well, I had an idea I hadn't finished with Magnus.
Steed looked again at the way the girl was pouring the bottle. Then he picked up the empty one that Lubin had left in his cell.
Tip it up like this. Curious angle.
Steed held it up to the light.
It opens like this with an ordinary twist of the metal cap. But then there appears to be a second thread on the bottleneck.
Come on, Steed, you should have got it by now.
The thread runs the other way. Yes, twist it back and there's a second opening. Liquor can be separated into two compartments. Vodka in the top half, hence Esdorf was able to give me a drink. But what was the liquid in the bottom half of this bottle?
Only one way to find out, Steed.
Visit Magnus should tell me that.
Might, if you hurry. It's a pity about one-way streets in London. Steed, driving away from his apartment, might have seen Mrs. Peel driving to it, had they not been in separate parallel roads. While they were in the process of passing each other, Steed's telephone was ringing. Colonel James, making the call from Old Hill Monastery, sighed impatiently.
He's not answering. Out then, sir?
Well, of course he's out. Trouble is, he could be anywhere.
It's essential that you get in touch with him?
Of course it is, man. The last time this happened was Lubin. We didn't warn Ryder in time, and Ryder was killed. The time before that, we didn't let George Neville know Rostov was out. Rostov got to Neville and killed him. Now Esdorf has escaped and is intent on killing Steed. Of course we've got to find Steed. I'll try just one more time.
Colonel James muttered angrily against the forces of fate in general and his own sad plight in particular, and dialed Steed's number. In Steed's apartment, Mrs. Peel, just entering, left the door open and flew to answer the call.
Steve?
No, Colonel James here from Old Hill Monastery. Isn't Steed there?
It doesn't seem to be. I heard the phone ringing as I rushed in. What is it, Colonel?
Bad news. Couldn't be really a bit worse. You've got to find Steed, Mrs. Peel. You've got to warn him that Esdorf is out.
Out?
Out. Escaped. Gone. And he's going to kill Steed.
Right. Don't worry. I'll do my best, Colonel. And my best had better be better than yours. Steve? Steve, is that you back? Thank goodness. They just phoned from...
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Martin Esdorf.
Steed entered the warehouse of Magnus Importing Company with a great deal of care. He moved along the line of crates to the desk where he'd last talked to Magnus. He looked around.
Yes. A crate of lizard vodka. Open, and a few bottles left inside. Well, this should tell me what I want to know.
Steed placed his umbrella and bowler on the desk, picked up the bottle, and gave it an expert twist in an anti-clockwise direction. The lower compartment of the bottle was full of a colorless liquid. Steed was about to pour some out when Magnus appeared from behind some crates. Steed heard the sound and swung round. Magnus leveled a gun, but Steed threw the bottle at him. It caught Magnus on the chin.
Yes, well, that'll keep you quiet for a bit. But just to make sure...
Steed picked up an empty crate and placed it over Magnus.
Well, it looks tidy anyway. Now, where was I? Ah, yes.
Steed opened another bottle of vodka from the crate and poured some liquid from the lower half over his bowler. The bowler began to turn as white as the wrapping paper it was resting on. Steed sighed.
So that's it. Now you see it, now you don't. The answer at last.
Time ticked on. An hour went by, and another. Esdorf seemed quite relaxed in Steed's apartment, but Mrs. Peel, who had not taken her eyes off the hand that held the gun, knew that there had been no chance to attack. Esdorf knew his job. He would make no ordinary assailant.
Forgive me. A sudden amusing thought you wouldn't understand.
Try me.
It's rather like a riddle. I was trained never to turn my back on an enemy. That when my back was turned, I was most vulnerable. And yet, if I turn my back now, I become utterly invulnerable. I said you wouldn't understand.
Oh, but I do.
Oh, come now.
Like a chameleon, merging with the background. The 9th degree in camouflage.
Now I am impressed.
It must be just the back of you that's treated with, well, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Steve's taste obviously extends beyond the more bourgeois trappings of life. You look like you do, and you have a brain. Remarkable. He's here outside the door. Come here. Stand in front of me. Feel this gun in your ribs. One move, and it shall last.
Steve, Esdorf!
There's no one there. Come here, you!
Esdorf, with amazing strength, grabbed Mrs. Peel and yanked her to her feet, pressing the gun to her head this time.
All right, Steve. It's you or this delectable creature. Come on, show yourself. Come on!
Pleasure, here I am.
Steve? Steve, where did you spring from?
They forgot to dispose of Lubin's duffel coat. I put it on back to front. Put the kettle on for a cup of tea, will you, please, Mrs. Peel?
Later, Mrs. Peel, entering from the kitchen, couldn't see Steed at all. She put the tray down impatiently and said,
Steve? Steve, where are you?
Over here.
Now, where's over here? You aren't still playing games with that silly coat, are you?
Of course not. I'm over here behind the curtains fixing the window. Like to give me a hand? It's a very small chair. You'll have to stand very close. Come on up. That's better. Now, just hold this, will you? That's it. You've got very warm hands, Mrs. Peel.
Warm hands, cold heart. Steve, I think we need a holiday.
Why not? Anything to get away together. Mrs. Peel. It's so cozy in here.
In my day, hard, harsh rubbing was the way to shift grease off my old coal stove. What's changed?
What's changed? Surfaces have changed. They can't take hard rubbing. They need handy-andy care.
Modern stoves and all modern surfaces need handy-andy liquid cleaner with active ammonia. Use handy-andy straight from the bottle. It lifts dirt without hard rubbing or scratching.
Surfaces have changed. It's time I changed to handy-andy, too.
The cleaning power of cold water Omo gives you the superb cleanness you want from a washing powder. Listen to Mrs. Baxter of Claremont.
It really is good. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable, really, that it could be so good, you know.
Once an Omo user, always an Omo user.
The Avengers.
Listen every evening, Monday to Friday, to John Steed and Emma Peel, The Avengers, brought to you by the makers of Cold Water Omo.